Hi, everyone. Thanks for joining us today. Just waiting a few minutes for a couple more people to enter into this meeting, but so glad you could join us. I'm going to strongly encourage everyone to turn their cameras on and turn their mics on. Feel free to ask questions. Hi, Matt. Nice to see you. Hi, Raya. Hi, Kevna.
Folks.
Yeah, feel free to interact and really enjoy this next hour, and I get right into it. So with that, I'd like to introduce Raya. Raya Anderton is our guest speaker for today. She works with Stuart, Olson and Bird Construction, and I'll let her tell you a little bit more about herself. I myself am Tirza van Lundenberg, one of the events directors for ATSA, and we also have Kevna Dave here on the call as well, who's another events director for ATSA. So if you have any questions, feel free to just voice them. You can always write in the chat, but it's nice to communicate and kind of get to know each other as well. So, all right, Raya, how are you doing today?
Doing good. I am ready to go here, and let me just start by kind of echoing what Tirza said for absolutely everyone. I'm gonna start my presentation, but I also just want you guys to know that you can interrupt me at any point if you have any questions or if you want clarification on anything. I try my best not to use foreign acronyms, but I might accidentally. So stop me if I say anything that's confusing or weird. Yeah, I just want you guys to know that you can interrupt me with any question. So without any further ado, I guess we'll start at exactly 12. This is very rare. So my name is Raya. I actually was a student at SAIT. I did the architectural technologies diploma like you guys. I want to give you guys a presentation on the McKimmey Tower, the block and link, some of the softwares that we're using, the hardware that we're using, what a day-to-day coordination, what a VDC coordinator does, and then kind of want to talk a little bit about some roles that we see emerging in the industry. If you guys are interested in this kind of stuff, you can also reach out to me afterwards, and I can give you guys more resources that make you generally a lot more appealing to future employers if this is something that you guys want to do or an avenue you guys want to go down. So that's kind of the plan for this presentation. My name is Raya, like I said, and back when I was at SAIT, I did the multi-use residential building capstone with Thomas Russell. I don't know if that's still a capstone, but that was the capstone that I did when I was at SAIT. I was also involved in the Women in Trades and Technology group, and I did a Q at Women in Leadership weekend. If you guys don't know anything about that, I don't know if they're still doing it, but if they are, I'd reach out to Riva for that. I was also involved in ATSA as the events coordinator back when we were able to do a lot more things in person. After I graduated, I moved on to cost consulting at Turner & Townsend, which is a cost consulting company that does a whole slew of things. But when I was working there, I was doing a lot of estimating and cost consulting services, and I really just wanted to do BIM VDC work. I was really obsessed with all of the stuff involving, clash detection, four-dimensional simulations, things like that. So when a friend reached out to me at Stuart Olson, it was really easy for me to make the switch. So I joined Stuart Olson right before the pandemic hit. And I think I had 2 months of being in the office, and then the pandemic hit. So I've been working mostly from home ever since that happened. So a little bit about Stuart Olson and Bird. You guys are going to see a lot of that kind of jargon thrown around if you guys see it on LinkedIn. Bird and Stuart Olson, they used to be separate companies. They're both 100-year-old companies. Stuart Olson was founded, I believe, in 1911, and Bird was founded in 1920, and they joined forces in September of 2020. So just last year, and they've kind of combined. Now it was a Bird acquisition of Stuart Olson. So I believe in the next couple of years, you're mostly just going to see the Bird word around. So yeah, they've kind of combined forces, and they have a few different arms. There's the Industrial Infrastructure and Buildings group. So the group that I'm a part of is the Buildings group, particularly the Buildings West group, but there's a lot of different other service offerings that these companies have. So that's just a little bit about the company. Now, the actual project. So if you guys have ever gone to the U of C campus, you will see a tower that's kind of, you know, sticking out on the skyline there, just because it's, I believe it's now 15 stories. But this is what it used to look like. So the McKimmey Tower, Block and Link, the library tower was built in 1972, and it was mostly built out of concrete. You can see there's the McKimmey Tower, and then over here was the Professional Faculties Building. So the Professional Faculties Building and the tower, they were kind of built in conjunction with each other. You can see the facade is very similar, and in 2011, the Taylor family digital library kind of was born, and a lot of that, because the tower was a library, a lot of the books and everything was moved over to the digital library. And then this tower became admin offices. So in that kind of 5-year range between it being, you know, absolutely demolished and it being transferred from a library over to admin offices, the provincial government actually came in and was able to kind of help fund a little bit of it. And they kind of started to make plans to tear it down, but try to use as much of it as they could. So in 2017, early 2018, they started to remove a lot of the exterior cladding, and they added 3 more floors onto it as well. They demolished they kind of refurbished the interior. They tried not to demolish the structure. They used the structure for the building that they were able to create afterwards. So the plan was to become a net zero carbon building. And so this is just a really quick video of a time lapse as we started the project. So this was back in June 2018. You can see all of the facade kind of getting ripped down off of the building. And at the same time that this is all getting stripped away, the interior is getting prepared for renovation. So at the same time, we see at the top here, we're adding a few more stories. So formerly it was 12 stories. It was a library building, and it was core renovated and converted for office use. And the adjacent building is actually, it's not in this video, but it actually does get demolished in the end. We end up just starting from scratch for the Block and Link. So to refurbish it, they ripped down the concrete facade. They removed a lot of the building services so that it was just that core structure that you guys see. So the tower was extended by 3 stories up, you can see, and prepared for a double skin glass facade. So it provides comfort, plenty of light in the building during the daytime. And then they built some photovoltaic systems, which is just solar panels on top of the roof there. So they integrated that into the roof. And their plan was they were aiming for a net zero carbon building. So one of the challenges was that there was a really inefficient cladding system that led to really poor thermal performance. So the plan was to create that double envelope system, and I'll kind of show you some of the ways that they were able to pull that off. And then adding PVs, but they actually were able, PVs is photovoltaics, which is just solar panels. And it was able to actually power a lot of the adjacent buildings as well. So it's automatically controlled, this double facade. It now it's finished and it encloses the entire building. But one of the things that you can do with it, with the passive temperature control of the double facade, is you can do this thing called night air purge. Does anybody know what night air purging is? You guys might not know the term, but I'm guessing a lot of your dads do it, because my dad would do it all the time growing up. It just means turning on or closing all of the windows and closing all the curtains during the hottest parts of the day in the summertime. And then at night, when it cools down, opening all the windows, turning on all of the fans. I don't know if you guys had a similar childhood to me, but that was basically my dad was a little bit type A about making sure that it was really, really cold in the nighttime, so that in the daytime, it would not be as hot inside the house. So basically that same principle. is being applied right here to the double envelope facade. So you can see that the building's already enclosed, but when they add the glass to the outside, what they're doing is they're able to improve thermal performance by, let's say on a really, really hot summer week, we've got nighttime temperatures of about 14 degrees. And so they actually automatically open up all of the windows during the nighttime and call it night air purging. And it just helps to support the HVAC systems inside of the building. So that's kind of, that was up until August 2019. It was handed over later in 2019. And here we go. This is kind of what it looked like when it was about complete. After that, the demolition of the professional faculties building took place. And yeah, so this is after it was completely renovated and handed over. So from the inside, you can see you actually have this little area. I don't want to call it a balcony because it's not really a balcony because it's still completely enclosed in glass, but there are openable windows there. So this just kind of helps protect from really harmful rays and brings in the light when you need it. And then if it's really, you know, if it was really cold out or cloudy out, then there's still an HVAC system that is under the floor of this building. So when it needs a little push, we still have the ability to do that. So that is kind of what it looks like when you're up on the 13th, 14th, or 15th floor. We've also got the shutter system, which is all automated. So it kind of, when you have the ability to use the sun to your advantage, then they open up. And then, you know, when it's way, way too hot, then they'll close for you. So it's a really interesting building. I think it's really cool. And it was 15 stories high when it was complete. And now that it is complete, we're currently looking at building the block and link site. So that whole project, the tower, I actually wasn't even on board until it was complete. My job right now is the block and link particularly. So right here, this little area here, that's the link. And then this is what we've been calling the block. So I'm just going to open up a different window for you right now because I wanted to show you some of the things that we're using. So we're currently using some drone footage and we're able to kind of show the site as it progresses. So we have, so this was our last drone flight that we were able to do. Unfortunately, just because now we have 2 cranes going at all times and it costs a lot of money to shut that crane down and you can't really fly a drone when there's a crane operating actively. We haven't been able to get any more recent images, but here is an example of some of the drone footage that we're able to take. When we go up and fly it, we take another one a little bit closer to the ground. So this was back in November. This is progress at November, I believe it was 9th. And you can see we've poured the concrete structure. We're looking at a lot of material on site and the preparation of the link here as well. So one of the things that we have been able to use during the course of construction is drone footage, just to be able to show the client kind of how progress is going. And when you have enough, we unfortunately don't for this project, but when you have enough, flights, you can also stitch them together so you can show, a video as it's going. We have the drone capability to do this. This particular project, just because of the constraints, it was actually a lot easier to just have a stationary camera on a building nearby, which is that video that you guys just saw. But we do have drones on site that we are using. We're using for other things, but also for this. So that's just an example of one of the softwares that we're using. With drone mapping, you can create that high resolution photo. You can show construction progress. And yeah, that's currently that was what it looked like in November. We're actually at the 4th level already structurally. So we've moved on quite a decent amount since then. Another thing that we've been using in addition to this drone is the BLK 360. Now the BLK 360 is a scanner that I don't mind it. There are better ones out there, and we're looking at potentially acquiring an RTC 360 from Leica in the next year, which is just a better quality. So I'll preface it by saying it's not the best quality, but it's what we can use to, for enclosed rooms, we can take 360 photos. We can also develop point cloud models. Have you guys learned yet about point cloud models at all? All right, so this is something that you guys actually have access to with your educational license. It's called Recap Photo. I don't know if you guys have Recap Pro, but I know you have Recap Photo. So if you guys are interested in creating any sort of point cloud data systems, you can reach out to me. I'm sure probably Will actually has a scanner that he'd let you borrow if you were interested in that. But this is one 3D scan. So the difference between a scan of a photo and a point cloud model is what happens is, and you can kind of see as you zoom in, that this isn't a surface. This isn't a smooth surface right here. It looks like it is when you zoom out, but it actually is a bunch of dots. So what happens is the scanner is set up right here and it emits a bunch of points of light, basically lasers that bring back a distance reading. And so you can combine, so this is basically what the scanner saw at the time. So for example, if you set it up in just one place and then just have it, scatter lasers all around it in a 360 view, then this is kind of what you're going to get for your 3D view. You're going to get as many points as it was able to see from its starting point. So a great example of why you need to do more than just this one is right here. You can see it was set up just before this opening here. So we have that straight line there where we can't see anything above it. So to create a little bit more detail, what people will do and what we do is we set up the scanner, we scan it there, and then we move it over here and we set up probably another scan right about here. And it's able to fill in all of that missing data up here on the ceiling right there. So 3D scans are another way that we provide as-built data for projects. And this is just one scan. I couldn't pull in the other one just because I'm running so many programs at once and I didn't want to crash it. But you can stitch them all together and then you end up with a very smart model, basically. From these point cloud models, you can actually create models in Revit or any other modeling software. So that's just a look at Recap. There is a way, if you guys are interested, if you guys want to figure out how to use Recap Photo and don't own a drone, for those of you that don't own drones at home, you can actually, I have a step-by-step instruction manual that I developed that's just kind of a for fun thing if you guys are interested in taking Google Earth images, because Google Earth obviously has already the satellite footage for what you're looking at. If you take it, you can actually create a model of the space that you're looking at. So I did one for the Eiffel Tower, and it's pretty cool. So that's the scanner that we're looking at and the drone. So those are kind of the hardware that we're using right now in our projects delivery on site for the McKinney Block and Link project. The surveyor also uses the total station, which I don't know if you guys have had a chance to start working on yet, but I think you guys have a module where you at least take a look at it or try it out. No, that's gone. Honestly, it's for the best.
Surveying is no more.
All right, so the software in the project's delivery right now, from my job's perspective, what I'm using almost 90% of the time is Autodesk Navisworks Manage. So Autodesk makes a lot of different programs, and a lot of them you guys have access to right now if you guys are curious. But Manage is the one that I use. Back last year, I did I don't know if it was a lunch and learn or some sort of an educational session where I showed you guys how to use Navisworks Manage to do clash detection. So if you guys are interested, I'm sure there's a recording buried somewhere about that. But this is a very, very powerful tool that you can use to interlay multiple different models into one specific space. So this is just a random, I did an animation for a guy just as a favor. He wanted to show it to his son's kindergarten class. But this is kind of what it looks like inside of the tower. This is our HVAC systems. We also use Navisworks Freedom. So Navisworks Freedom is what we get basically all of the trades that don't want to pay for Navisworks Manage. We get them all to use it because, as you can guess, it is free. So Navisworks Freedom is what we use to kind of do all of our coordination meetings. Also, Revit gets used, Recap, which you just saw, Leica Register 3D, which is a software that's used to register all of those scans. Microsoft Project is it's all a scheduling software, but what we can do is we can actually add a project's schedule to its model. And what you end up getting is now this is a different project entirely, but I did just a really quick first pass. What you end up getting is when you're able to add each individual element to a line item of schedule, you're able to create an animation. So this is called a 4D animation. So for the fourth dimension of time, you can see building kind of get built according to its structure. So why is that useful, except for to, have a pretty picture? It's useful if you are looking at a particular area and you've developed this really intense schedule and then you want to play it. If you're playing it and you see that you've got, say, your concrete gets poured and then your underground's going after, you'll obviously notice that that's wrong. You have to have your undergrounds laid first, and then you put your concrete foundations on top. So for instance, there's a lot of things that you can kind of check to make sure. It's basically just a double check that we use we call it a dress rehearsal for a building. So this is one example of something that Navisworks Manage can do. Navisworks Manage, I'm going to close this. Navisworks Manage can also, as I mentioned before, do clash detection. So this is the model for the block and link only. So this is the block building here, and this is the link here. So as you can see, we can also do clash detection checks. So right now I'm in the process of working on clash detection on the block and link, and we, in just our last meeting on Thursday, one of these clashes, and the new model actually that is coming at the end of today is going to have this moved over. So a couple of things that you guys will probably use if you ever joined a company that needed a VDC coordinator. Most of the time you're going to be using the clash detection tool from Navisworks Manage, and also the timeliner tool, which is what you use to make animations. So that's just a quick look at the softwares that we use. So for a day in the life of my life, you can see that this picture of our weekly trade meetings was developed before the pandemic. We no longer meet all crammed into one site trailer anymore. But I have a weekly meeting. Every week I deal with this particular federated model. As you can see, I've moved the tower out of it just because it got really heavy. And we deal with all of the clashes, and we discuss them, and we work on how to fix certain things that are laid in certain ways. And it's just helpful because before this existed, we were just doing coordination on 2D drawings. So when I say we, I mean they, because I was very young. But before clash detection became a thing, it was really just, we were looking at drawings and we were hoping that if there was going to be any issues, that someone would catch it before it got constructed. But this resulted in a lot of, before clash detection, let's say someone poured a concrete column in the wrong spot, and structurally it can't be where it is. If it was modeled or if it was drawn in the wrong spot, and poured, then it costs, instantly it's $100,000 to rip out all of that concrete and re-pour it in a new space. It causes delays in the schedule. It causes delays, lots of delays down the road. So this is something that we've been using in the last number of years just to kind of save money on every project. And it's shown very, very useful. So clash detection is something that I spend most of my days doing. And back to the spreadsheet, I want to make sure that I'm showing you guys all of the things that I wanted to show you. So yeah, we've got our clash detection, and yeah, I showed you that. So yeah, basically that's my day in the life. We are doing a lot of coordination, and then as the project continues, the client would like to see actually our federated model. So we're going to hand that over to them. The BIM mandate, so BIM, Building Information Modeling, or Building Information Management, the mandate that the client gives you at the very beginning of the project is kind of what guides the entire project, and how important it is to kind of capture those as built, those real-time conditions. Because this project was commissioned back in 2016, 2017, there wasn't really that much BIM mandated at the beginning. So now that we're kind of going into 2021, they're kind of asking for a lot more, which is great because from the beginning, we've been using all of this stuff for coordination purposes. So now we can actually give it to them as an as-built record model, even though it's not perfect, just because this is something that we can give them above and beyond. So this project is going to be complete in 2022. It's going to consist of the tower, which is already done. And then right now we're just at the concrete level of the block and link building, which is going to be educational facilities and offices and things like that. I think there's comments right now, but I don't think I can see them for some reason. So if anyone has any questions so far, they can definitely interrupt me. You don't have to throw it in the chat. But yeah, so that's the project by itself. And it was really important to me because I've been in your guys' position to also kind of explain how this relates to you guys and some of the jobs that I see emerging in the industry. And I kind of do this every time I speak. One of the jobs that we are looking at right now. So kind of the things that I just showed you, the 3D scanner, drone footage. We're actually looking in the next year, potentially 2 years, we're looking at hiring a reality capture specialist. And there's VDC coordinator positions that I'm seeing on LinkedIn emerging all over throughout every single construction company that I've seen. So right now we're looking for a reality capture specialist, probably before the end of this year. We're looking for someone whose primary job is going to be doing scanning, dealing with the back end of scanning, so aligning all of the point cloud data and making sure that it's aligned with the existing model, things like that, coordination, site verification, stuff like that. So if that's something that sounds interesting to you, and honestly, it's pretty cool, then there's a lot of things that you guys can start doing now as students. There's courses that you can take on the Leica 3. Leica's actual website has a lot of really excellent videos that explain how point clouds work, how the data can transfer into modeling softwares, how to use the actual software or the hardware itself, lots of things like that that you can add to your resumes. And drone piloting. So getting a drone pilot is actually pilot license is actually also pretty easy. It might not necessarily be something that you guys need to do unless you're really, really considering, going after a job like this. But if you are interested in something like that, you can message me as well. Now I see there's stuff in the chat, but I wish I had it open before. I'm so sorry. Yeah, does anybody have any questions so far? And I'm also just going to show you real quick what we have so far for our the role and responsibilities of our reality capture specialist. So this is right now what we are looking for.
Can I just interrupt you, Raya, for a minute? Perhaps I should mention that if you're looking at what you want to do for your BDC capstone, or for your capstone, sorry, in fourth semester, there's a whole range of choices, and I'm not sure who of you have been exposed to those choices, but VDC, Virtual Design and Construction, is one of those options. William Thompson is in charge of that, and that's the VDC that actually both Raya and myself took that capstone. So that's anything that you're seeing today that's really interesting, kind of, taking that scheduling, putting it in 4D, working with clash detection or the drones or the point clouds. If you like that kind of technology, that's kind of the way to go for you. So sorry, Raya, thanks.
No, that's good. And you know what is actually kind of a shame, and I wish it wasn't true, but I actually didn't have an option of the VDC coordination capstone when I was in school. So I didn't even get to, all of the knowledge that I was able to get was during a 4-hour conversation I had with Will after I had graduated, right before I was about to enter the job market. So I feel like he's really setting you guys up for success if this is something that you see yourselves pursuing in the future. One of your questions was how big are the models? So real quick, I'll just show you how big just the architectural model is. It's not crazy, but when you combine them all together, it's pretty intense. So we're looking at about 680 megabytes. for just one of them. When you combine all of the models together, because we are looking right now, and I've actually reduced the numbers in here because it was more, but we're looking at basically, we've got architectural, mechanical, electrical, and then we have all of the trade models. So we've got the models that come in from our different trades. So RPs for mechanical, custom for electrical, JCI is doing the fire, and then Norfab is doing all of the steel. So there's a lot of stuff that ends up getting in there. So it gets quite heavy. Any more questions? Oh yeah, I'm sure Matt's class for scheduling is everyone's favorite. Sorry, Matt. Do you guys have any more questions about this project? I really wanted to kind of breeze over it fast enough that you guys could voice your questions or opinions. This is basically my presentation. That's kind of it. I just wanted to show you guys the jobs that we're looking for in the future and kind of what is being used right now on projects. Does anyone have any questions about any of these softwares or hardwares or anything like that?
I'm going to ask you, Raya, not specifically about the software, but just the new facade on the building that you're working on. What's the distance between the facade? Like facades, it almost looked like you could walk in between the two. Can you do that, or is it much smaller than that?
Yeah, so I can measure it. I would measure it if I had it open. But yeah, there's actually, and that's why I didn't really want to call it a balcony because it's still enclosed in glass. But up here on the 13th, 14th, 15th floor, you can't walk out. But over here on one of the office levels, you'll see there's actually like a door here that you can open. You can step out there. If anyone knows what the building code is off the top of their head, they might be able to get a better idea than me. But that distance, I think, is probably a couple feet, like maybe 3-4 feet. So these platforms and programs with VR, that's actually a really good question for VR. I am obsessed with VR AR softwares. There is a program right now that I've been using for a different project that has an interoperability tool with AR and VR. It's the software is called Revisto. And I think that Will has at least mentioned it to his VDC capstone. If he hasn't already shown them, I don't know what the educational license situation is with that. But there's a lot of different platforms emerging now that have interoperability with VR and AR. As of right now, we've actually extensively researched kind of the pros and cons of bringing VR and AR on right now. And Trimble actually makes an augmented reality hard hat headset sort of coupling system. And you can go out onto site, you can put these goggles on and you can see superimposed on reality, you can see exactly what the model looks like. So imagine you're out here in the basement of this project, you're standing right here, but you have the goggles on and you can actually see, this pipe is actually supposed to be right here. You can see all of the studs, and this is maybe not the best example, but you look up and you can see all of the stuff that's supposed to end up in the ceiling, especially before it's actually put there. So there is stuff that exists right now. The reason that we have not brought it onto this project is just because we were a little bit further along before we had kind of been introduced to it. And another thing is you kind of have a bunch of trades that you kind of need to get a little bit more buy-in from before you can start putting augmented reality into projects, at least as a mandate. But what I'm anticipating is in the future, kind of as that becomes more of a second nature tool, it's going to be used a lot by trades. So mechanical trade is going to come in and instead of referring to drawings or even referring to a model that's inside of, their iPad or laptop. They're just going to be able to stick on their headset, which is going to show them the entire building. Let's say it's just the concrete structure that's poured, and they'll be able to look up and see where they need to have their holes drilled. They'll be able to see exactly where all of their pipes need to be laid. Even if they shake their heads, it'll stay there. So it is something that exists. It is something that I'm super excited to become more normal in projects. As of right now, just because it wouldn't really necessarily be us, I believe, that would drive it as much as a trade that would drive it. I think we are going to see that in the next 5-ish years for sure. But for now, this project didn't get to use it, unfortunately, which is a bummer because I wish I could have used it. And then VR, so virtual reality, that is typically used more in like on the proposals side, just because you can take this whole building and you can actually walk through it and you can see it in the VR world. But in addition, like obviously people want to see more of a real value for that instead of just being able to interact with it inside of goggles instead of just looking at it on top of, their screen. The big difference there, they want to be able to see it in dollars. They want to see like, okay, if I want to be able to, walk through this in the virtual world with a pair of goggles, how much more valuable is it than just being able to look at it on my laptop? So kind of once that can be proven, then we'll be able to have a little bit more. I think by then, VR is going to be a lot more part of our lives. But there's still a lot of companies that do it. I believe we have VR headsets. I mean, I'm probably going to get one before the end of the year just for myself that I'll start using. But yeah, that's kind of where we're at with this. And Tirza, I'll just give you kind of a general. Now we wanted to build that double envelope facade because it actually makes sense to build it. It wasn't just some design challenge that we wanted to solve. It was actually very useful. So from the glass to glass, actually, maybe we'll do glass to glass. Yeah, it doesn't look like that much of a distance, but it's about a meter approximately that it comes out. Yeah, any more questions?
It looks like it's enough to walk there, which is actually really cool if you have that option.
Yeah, it is cool. Like I think if I were ever to work at the U of C, it'd be cool to have an office like this where you could just go out and like get a tan. Just kidding. You wouldn't really get much of a tan out there. Atsa Sate asked, did you know this is what you wanted to do before starting at SATE? Heck no, I had no clue. When I started at SATE, I had no idea. But after having a conversation with Will, after already getting a job offer for a cost consulting company, I realized I didn't even want to do estimating and kind of worked to get a job like this, which I absolutely love. Is the space, like, are you asking, sorry, William, are you asking if the space, like that balcony space, is usable?
Yeah, I just assumed it wasn't, but you're saying you can go out there. There's doors that open up and you can go onto it?
You can, but it's so narrow that, like, I mean, especially because it's not like a house where you would go and put out some patio furniture and like have breakfast out there. You can go out there, but it's not usable as in like you couldn't put like a desk there and work there, I don't think.
How neat.
Yeah, but you can stand out there, which is very cool. Yeah. Any more questions about the building, the industry, the project, anything like that? Beth, if you already have a VR headset, talk to Will, because I'm happy to give you models as long as I get you to sign something that says you will never steal it, basically. But you might want to look at getting some sort of an educational license for certain softwares that have that interoperability. So I know that Revisto does it. They have it for the Oculus and for the Vive. So that's what I would use. If you want, maybe I would even Google if there's other softwares, because I know that Revisto costs money, but there might be other softwares that don't. Yeah. Any more questions? I never planned for these things to go so fast, but I think I just talk way too fast.
It's good. Very cool project, Raya. Thanks for sharing.
Oh yeah, guys, sorry, my closing comments. So I think maybe it's Tirza who's typing this, but for everybody who wants to get into the job market kind of in these next few years, even if you just started and you aren't even thinking about it yet, I would definitely make a LinkedIn profile. This is my little plug for LinkedIn. It's basically where everything happens for our industry. It's where you kind of get to know people. It's where people will reach out to you. I have been in this industry, the BIM VDC industry, for only a year and a half, and I got headhunted on LinkedIn last week. So I really, really recommend that you guys get your profiles started now. Start connecting with your classmates. I know right now, because you guys are all working from home and you're doing classes from home, it's tough because you guys really haven't met each other in person, or at least haven't done it very often. And you really only recognize a handful of people's faces, like Tirza and Ben, who have their cameras on, and basically nobody else. So I really, really recommend, as you guys continue on with your semesters, if you are if you're sticking with learning online, turning on your cameras so people know what your face looks like, connecting with your classmates, connecting with all of your instructors on LinkedIn is really, really important. Anytime there's a lunch and learn and someone speaks, add them on LinkedIn, talk to them if they have anything that might be useful to you in getting a job. There's a lot of things that you guys can be doing right now to get you guys more hireable. We are looking at excellent and very impressive resumes from SAIT students that are just so impressive, especially because I know that I probably would not get hired if my resume was in the mix, and it's only been like 3 years. So yeah, making connections is very important. And the classmates that you have right now, you're going to, as your careers kind of launch forward, you're going to see where they go, and some of you might get jobs from each other, some of you might work for each other, some of you might work alongside or with each other. So it's really, really important to stay connected on there. Yeah. Anybody else have any questions? Thanks, Will. All right, I'm gonna stop sharing the screen now.
I have a question.
Uh-huh.
I'm graduating next April. When do you recommend us to start contacting companies? Like, should I like contact like year before, or at least like 6 months before?
Yeah, that's a good question. When you feel like you have, I would start looking at jobs as you're in school to try to kind of figure out what sorts of jobs you want to do when you're done school. So for instance, if you're looking at, there's a wide variety of different types of companies out there. If you're looking at job descriptions, they're telling you what you're going to be spending the rest of your career doing. So I'd spend a lot of time looking at job descriptions. And then if you see a job description that looks super dope, like honestly, this reality capture specialist, if I had just graduated and saw that, I would have been like, that's what I want to do. I want to fly drones all day. I would then, reach out to your professors or instructors and tell them, I have this, this job interview coming up, and I really want to know more about this topic, or I want to understand this. They're obviously really, really invested in your success. So I would definitely start looking even as soon as you start. I kind of wish I had done that. But yeah, another thing that I highly recommend, I don't know if you guys have been working on portfolios, if they have been virtual or paper portfolios. But if you guys have been working on your portfolios, I would say work on them and keep them. I actually still have mine and I used it to get like a little side gig once. So use it all the time. Try to keep that updated because that's going to be the thing that it's kind of replacing resumes, business cards, portfolios. It's just all of that all in one place. So start working on your websites, basically. That's another thing that I would really recommend. And adding everything, like don't even just add, like I have one coworker his website just has all of the stuff he builds out of Lego. And there's a whole page dedicated to all the stuff he builds out of Lego. And it's super cool. So in addition to all of the stuff that you do related to your course, if you sketch or draw or build Lego, or, you know, even if you kite surf or do something other than that, but that you're really passionate about, that's a hobby of yours, add that on there. Dedicate an entire page to it because that's the stuff that employers want to see as well.
Awesome. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Raya. I really enjoyed having you come to SAIT virtually and just kind of explain what you do. Really nice to see some of you students as well. So if there's no other questions, maybe we can give it a few more minutes, or if anyone wants to reach out to Raya and say anything else.
If you guys have any more questions, or if you want me to send you anything, feel free to message me on LinkedIn, and or I can even send my email address with Tirza. But it was really great to meet all of you guys virtually. I hope that you guys are making good use of your semesters that you're working, or that you're working on all of your stuff, but that you're also connecting with each other. That's super important. But yeah, it was really great to meet you guys. And I'll hopefully maybe see you guys next year if I do this again.
That would be awesome. Thanks again so much, Raya. Thank you, everybody. Enjoy the rest of your day, your afternoon classes.
Thank you.